For the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. This meeting has been noticed in compliance with the South Carolina Freedom of Information Act. This commission acts in review and recommending capacity for designations and removal of historic properties and districts. The commission also reviews proposed National Register of Historic Places nominations. The commission has the final decision-making authority on certificates of historic appropriateness. I'd like to begin the introductions. My name is Melanie Millar. I am the chair. To my left, I have Jason Crowley, vice chair, Pat Sullivan, and Pat Jones. To my right, I have Anna Johnson, Michael Walsh, English Purcell, and Donna Gardner. Also seated to my, well, it's to my left, to my right is Commission Attorney Mark Bell, and to my left, Joel Evans, Director of Zoning and Planning. Joel, would you please introduce your staff?
Sure. Andrea Melisick, the Deputy Director of the Zoning and Planning Department. Tamara Avery, she'll be presenting the subdivision application requests. Emily Piggott, you know her, she'll be doing the one case, the historic preservation for a new construction case. Matthew Husband is here. He also works with subdivision. I have Marche has left. Oh, no, she is. Oh, way back there. Marche Miller, you know her. She's now a planner, and you'll be seeing her in a different capacity in the future. Monica Eustace is here. She'll be presenting one of the cases today, too. Stephanie Ondo, she took Marche's position with taking the votes and all for Historic Preservation Commission. And also Alex Ludwig is here, and she also works with Tamara in subdivision.
Thank you. I would like to remind you that in order to get a good recording of the meeting for the minutes, please speak loudly and clearly into your microphones. The next agenda item is the approval of the minutes from the March 20th, 2024 meeting and annual meeting, as well as the May 15th, 2024 meeting. Is there a motion and a second?
So moved.
So,
I'd like to make a comment before we approve them.
Ms. Sullivan?
There's a paragraph that starts, Commissioner Walsh pointed out that the commission gives applicants, et cetera, and it mentions the Phillips Community Character Appraisal information and the National Register designation, which they eventually received. Just want to clarify that based on talking with Elizabeth Johnson with SHPO and Brittany Lavelle, who wrote the application, this was based on the design of the roads, not any character that was in the Phillips community. We can learn a lot about the character of the buildings there from the report, but that's not why they received the register nomination and approval. Thank you.
Is there anything other than that, just comment? Is there anything we need to do on that?
doesn't sound like a change.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Sullivan. Anyone else, any comments or concerns before we take a motion or a second for the minutes to be approved? Again, who made the motion? And is there a second? Okay. There's been a motion and a second for the minutes to be approved. We have no questions. At this point, I take a vote.
Chair Millar,
Aye.
Vice Chair Crowley,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson, Commissioner Jones, Commissioner Gardner,
Aye.
Commissioner Purcell,
Aye.
Commissioner Sullivan,
Aye.
Commissioner Walsh. The ayes have it. And that was for March 20th. Did we just do one motion and 1 second for both minutes?
For both. Is that sufficient?
Yeah.
Is that sufficient, Mr. Bell, for one motion and one vote for both minutes?
And if that was the intent of the motion maker to cover both, that is sufficient.
Okay. Thank you. All right. The next agenda item is HIST-05-24-00110, a request for a certificate of historic appropriateness. Monica, would you please discuss?
Good afternoon. This request is for a certificate of historic appropriateness for the construction of a new single-family dwelling unit at 3862 Abe White Road, TMS number 614-00-00-767, a property within the 10 Mile Community Historic District. Since the designation of the 10 Mile community as a Charleston County Historic District, 17 applications for certificates of historic appropriateness have been received to date. The 10 Mile community was designated as a historic district in June 2022. In August of 2023, a subdivision plat creating 3 lots was approved. On January 26, 2024, a certificate of historic appropriateness application for construction of a single-family dwelling unit was withdrawn by the applicant. This application is for a new 2-story, 2,024 square foot single-family dwelling unit with 13% lot coverage. Here's the location of the subject property when looking at the county as a whole. And this map shows the subject property's location off of Abe White Road in the 10 Mile Historic District. The 10 Mile community was recognized in the 2016 Charleston County Cultural Resources Survey update as a remnant freedmen community having significant social organization and settlement patterns. The subject property is zoned Special Management S3 and is undeveloped. The future land use designation is Urban Suburban Cultural Community Protection. Properties to the west, east, north, and south are also zoned S3 and contain single-family dwelling units or are undeveloped. The subject property is in the AE11 flood zone. Here is an aerial view of the subject property. These are photos of the subject property off of Abe White Road. And these are the surrounding properties at 3863 and 3864 Abe White Road. This site plan shows the proposed location of the residence on the parcel along with a 10-foot gravel driveway. The next few slides show the proposed structure in elevation. This is the front elevation. Here's the rear elevation. This is the left side elevation and the right side elevation. The applicant did provide responses to all the applicable approval criteria. Based on the applicant's responses, the approval criteria may have been satisfied. Therefore, staff recommends approval. 7 letters in opposition and a petition with 68 signatures opposing the request were received. The meeting was noticed as required.
Okay, thank you, Monica. Appreciate your report. Are there any questions for staff from the commission members? Yes. Ms. Sullivan?
Okay. This is on what size land?
It's a 1/4 acre.
And then we had an application in April on the same road, and it appears this property is right next door.
This property is between the two properties that you previously saw on Abe White Road.
Okay. So one of the properties before was .25 acres. Okay. And what was the square footage of the one before that we looked at April 17th?
I think it was the same site plan that we're looking at today.
Okay. And it was to be 2 stories.
It was, yes.
Okay.
1.5 stories.
So I'm just wondering why we should approve this. We denied it at our last meeting, and this is the same size property, same size house, same design house. So why should we approve this?
Madam Chair, I believe that's not an appropriate question for staff. That's a question for the commission members.
Okay.
So if there's not a question for staff,
Okay, so I'm just clarifying this then. All right, thank you.
What changes were modified on this particular plan? The gravel driveway was already part of the
Right. This is the first submittal for
First
this
submittal.
lot, so there were no changes made.
okay.
I have a question for staff. With AE 11, can someone on staff explain elevation requirements, fill requirements, anything as it relates to the actual FEMA and freeboard requirements?
I'll start it off, and if one of y'all want to finish it. So AE11 requires, states that you're in a flood zone. The lowest construction member of that has to be 2 feet above that elevation. And Monica, is the elevation of the ground noted on the site plan?
Not that I saw, but I did note that the home would be on an 18-inch raised slab, and they're bringing in 1 foot of fill.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Crawley, does that answer your question?
It does, and I'll withhold my comments until we get to discussion after our motion.
Any other questions for planning? All right, hearing none, we will move forward to public comment. And each speaker will be limited to 2 minutes. Please state your name and address before giving your comments. Would you like to make an effort there?
Phil Spitz.
Mr. Spitz?
That's for this case. All right. Myra Richardson. Did Mr. Spitz leave, sign and then leave, or? Okay.
Oh, yeah, there is somebody.
She went to,
You might have stepped out.
Okay.
Somebody.
okay. I'll let Ms. Richardson go first.
Good day. My name is Myra Richardson. My address is 2755 Earl Johnson Lane, Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, 29466. I'm the president of the Hamlin Beach community. We stand with the 10 Mile community in opposing the changes that are happening in their community. There are about 250 developed lots and lots that with finished homes in the historic district, and more than 200 of them are on larger lots ranging about 4.4 acres. That's about 86% of the lot size. Staff has pointed out the range in home sizes on Abe White Road, which range up to approximately 1,500 square feet. Approximately 66% of the finished homes in the historic district and are less than 2,000 square feet. This type of development may not change the character of the community as bluntly and quickly as a major subdivision, but minor subdivisions placed all over the community adds up to a change in the community 2, 3, 4 houses and lots at a time. If these subdivisions are not of the character of the overall community, then they began to overtake the district like the major subdivisions, until all tracks of the history and character of this community will be gone. We're asking Charleston County to please stick to the area characteristic appraisal and the mandate that the 10 Mile community has put on the community to save their community. So please vote no to changes and to this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Pearl Askew.
Good evening. Pearl Askew, 977 Gadsdenville Road, Allendale 29429. I have some information that I'd like to share with the commissioners in regards to what was just stated, in regards to the lot sizes, et cetera. Please, may I ask that these be shared? And based on what was just recently mentioned by the first person that spoke, we're talking about lot sizes in regards to this particular applicant. It's the same identical house from the April, I believe it is. It hadn't changed any. It's 1.5 sizes deeper than it is wide. And I just wanted to share some additional information so the commissioners can see what we are talking about when it comes to the sizes of the homes versus the property and lot sizes, the width and the deep and the depth of it. And I just wanted to say also that we do have current craftsman-style houses in the community on Theodore Road that does not change the character of the community. And with the house that's being proposed today, it's the same identical house that was up for the last HPC meeting. It's the same. It's the same. It hadn't changed any. And I believe the word "may" in the presentation probably changed some of. The word "may" means a lot. As I said, we're not against houses being built in the community. And these are current homes that I have in my hand. You're welcome to see them if you want.
No.
Everybody's good. These are current homes within the community. But this community is 200 years old. And if we don't help to protect it somewhere, shape, or form, it's just going to be running the number, if you will. Thank you.
Mark Lipsmeyer?
Good afternoon, Mark Lipsmeyer with Nest Coastal, 1814 Crown Commons Way, Johns Island. We've been before you, Commission, several months, continuing to provide applications that are in compliance with zoning, in compliance with the historic district as far as what's written in the code. And we come back time after time with changes to applications that we've submitted over months to meet certain criteria. And we'll continue to do that. And I'm here to answer any questions.
Anyone have questions for the applicant? This would be the time to ask them.
Not necessarily for the applicant. I probably should have asked staff this, but just I'm confused about this April date that keeps being mentioned. Was that this property that we looked at in April, or that was a different property?
It was a different property.
So we have never looked at this property before, is that correct?
That's correct.
what I believe was stated is that this is the same plan, a design plan, but it's for an earlier home, but not for this particular site.
And the outcome of that application was what in April?
That was, under my understanding, that was a denial.
Thank you.
Comment.
Your question for the applicant?
That's what I wanted to ask for us to look at. This is where the property is on this application. The one that was in the April meeting, where was that property? I think it was right next door.
That property was to the right.
Yeah.
And-
Okay, so it's the same, well, 3 lots, or I don't know what the total number of lots is there. So we're talking about same location, same size lot, same house design. And if you look at the character of the houses in the, not all of 10 Mile, because there's some new houses there, but if you look at the houses up and down that street and around the corner, none of them look like what's being proposed.
Question, Madam Chairman, can staff confirm, were the houses on either side of this the same house, or were they different houses from the same applicant?
The houses on either side of this, the one to the lot to the right was the same house plan. The house to the left was a different plan, but they're all by the same owner.
Thank you.
If there's no other questions for the applicant, I will call the next speaker. Okay.
Mr. German?
Good afternoon. Michael German, 1707 Snowden Road, Snowden, South Carolina. First, I just want to say I stand with the Hamlin and the 10 Mile community in their requests in terms of what should go in their community. Now, and because I'm from Snowden, we're not there yet in the historical district, but I'm here to hear the decisions that's being made on the information that's provided to you, because I'm not fully clear on the area characterization plan that the community submits. I'm thinking that that's the final decision, but it sounds as if whatever is being submitted by the community, the decisions here at this board in terms of how they move forward. And right now, it's a bit confusing to me in terms of, I say it's okay, but I really don't understand your role in the approval or denying something when the community responsible for providing you that information have already told you what they want. So I'm just here to listen and hopefully get a better understanding, so when it's our turn to submit an application to be a part of the historical district, we'll be more informed. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you coming, because that is helpful to listen so that you will be aware of what will be forthcoming for your community. I would say that initially, from my understanding, the applicant is stating that he has met the criteria that have been set out for this particular zoning and this particular plan and this plat. I know that there is a creation of the area preservation plan, which is obviously very important to our decision-making process. I think I'd also like to either ask Mr. Bell or Joel to explain a little bit more about the role that we're playing here, because, of course, we make a decision, but at the same time, it can be overturned or overruled by the county commissioners. So that's,
Well, actually, I'll start off with the last thing you said. Actually, if someone has a problem with a decision that's made by the Historic Preservation Commission,
appeal it.
that would be
Appeal it.
appealed to circuit
Correct.
court. Right. So that wouldn't go to another county body necessarily for a final decision. So the HPC's role is to review all, well, there are exemptions in it, but review all plans for development that occur if you're in a historic district. An area character appraisal or analysis is a useful tool, but that's just one of the tools that are used, that could be used by the Historic Preservation Commission. In this case, the one that's for 10 Mile was done a while ago. It has not been adopted yet by County Council. That doesn't prevent the Historic Preservation Commission from referring to it and utilizing it the way they see fit. But that does need to go through the adoption process for it to be official. And other than that, I don't know. Does anybody else have anything else to add to that? Okay.
Go ahead, Ms. Sullivan. I know you have some background with the,
What you're just referring to, Mr. Evans, is what 10 Mile has put together, but our commission has not seen it. We saw what they put together, 200 pages, several months ago, but we don't know if what they're submitting is the same thing. I would assume it's going to be very similar, but we don't know what's in it, correct?
Yeah. They have not submitted it yet. Emily, is that correct? To be adopted?
We're reviewing a draft at the staff level right now, and of course, that will come forward to the commission in the future.
But could we say it's very similar to what the 200 pages that they submitted several months ago? Or not? Should we not assume anything?
Changes were made since the initial submittal.
I'm sorry?
There were changes that were made since the initial submittal.
Madam Chairman,
yes, sir. Go ahead.
so what we have here is a difference between the ACA that we're talking about, which we all respect and would like to see taken into account, and the written laws, ordinances, regulations for building in this area. My understanding from the applicant is that he's met everything that is in black and white right now. And as much as that may be in opposition to the ACA, and as much as I would like to go by the ACA, I just don't see where there's anything else that you can ask a person to do other than to, in some generic fashion, take into account the area's characteristics and the wishes of the residents there.
I have a question for staff.
Okay, I know both of y'all both have asked, but Jason, if you go first, and then I'll let Ms. Pat go follow.
This is not ignoring what Commissioner Walsh just mentioned, but a question, just still trying to get information. Staff, do you have information so that the proposal or the presentation says that this proposed structure has 13% lot coverage and it's a 1/4 acre property? Has there been any analysis by staff about lot sizes and lot coverage in this district that can be shared with us?
Yes, we staff looked at had the assessor's office, we pulled data from the assessor's office for all of the lots and the buildings that had been permitted to be built. And actually, if we could pull up that slide, that does show the breakdown of the lot coverage as it relates to certain categories of lot sizes, because I know we wanted to have that information ready, because I know that that's something that had come up at the last couple of meetings. It was my understanding that there was an average taken for lot coverage for 10 Mile, but because there's such a varying sizes of lots, we wanted to look into it closer, and we actually categorized based on lot coverage the different building coverages for lot categories. And I think as soon as we get the technical part of this fixed, we'll be able to pull that up and share it with everybody.
Oh, it's up today.
Don't ask me every time
So, I mean, so we could, Monica, do you want to read through those?
Can you zoom in
Or,
at all?
yeah, can you zoom in and make it a little bigger?
Just want to make sure that your computer crashes.
Yes, yeah.
Is that large enough?
Yeah, that looks better, yeah. So do you want staff to read through it, or do you want to read it through it yourselves, or however you want to do it?
I would like to request staff, please read through that if you don't mind.
Okay.
There are 232 improved parcels in 10 Mile, although one is a large self-storage unit. The largest parcel is 16.05 acres, and the smallest is 0.12 acres. The largest residential unit appears to be 7,605 square feet, and the smallest appears to be 540 square feet. 129 parcels are under an acre, 71 are between 1 and 1.99 acres, and 32 are 2 or more acres. For parcels 0.25 acres or less, the average home is approximately 1,307 square feet, and the average lot coverage is 19%, and that's 27 parcels. For parcels between 1/4 and 1/2 acre, the average home is approximately 2,209 square feet, and the average lot coverage is 12%, and that's 29 parcels.
Thank you. That's very helpful. I think that gave us a lot of information, and that's something we actually heard earlier today, and that does make put things, I think, in a better perspective for us to understand percentages as far as coverage. Ms. Sullivan, did you have a question? I noticed you had something you'd like to say after Jason made his comment or had his question for staff.
Yes, we're talking about acreage size. Size of acreage, size of house, and then character of house. In April, we denied this. We denied 2 on lots right next door because of the design of the house. Yeah, I don't know what to say here, except we said no in April, and it appears that people are now changing their mind and saying they want to approve this when it's the same house, same size, 2 stories, same design. I mean, it's identical design. And
Point of order, we don't have a motion for discussion.
Yes, and Commission members, in addition to Commissioner Crowley's comment, I'd like to remind the commission that this is an entirely separate application that this commission has not reviewed before.
I realize that, and I'm comparing it to what we've looked at before. And saying it's identical, and that we denied it previously.
We don't have a motion or a second.
Yes.
We will go to that. Just, I have a question, though. I'm looking at the smallest size property, and if I'm not mistaken, is that a 19% coverage? Is that correct? Okay, what is the coverage on this particular lot, right?
13%.
Pardon me?
13%.
13. Okay, I think that's pretty glaring, right there.
What do you mean glaring?
I mean, I think that already substantiates a point that if the coverage is 19%, the average for a parcel that's 0.25 or smaller, that it's 0.9, it's 19% coverage, and this particular is a same size lot or smaller, if I'm not mistaken, and it's a 0.13. So to me, that's something that is important to me. So I guess I'm making more of a statement to myself that this is even smaller than what's
Than what
allowed.
the average is.
Still need a motion in a second.
Okay, so we still do need a motion and a second at this point, though.
Chairman, I just
Yes.
had one question. What is the square footage for this particular house?
This house is 2,024 square feet.
Thank you.
And for that particular property size, it is 1307, with a percentage, though, of 0.13.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. Any, before we do have it seems like there's a conversation here. Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment or has anything else they'd like to discuss before we make a motion?
I'd like to make a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
For me, the community has spoken as to what they are and what they intend to be, and they're asking for protection of their community that has been in existence for 200 years. And I understand that it's about 27% of the parcels 27 parcels have this 19% of the coverage. So that's not half. That's not the majority. And to me, I'm going to support what the community is trying to establish itself to be from what already is in existence.
Thank you. I think if we have anything other, just any other comments, it needs to be to staff or questions to staff at this point. So I'm assuming we can make a motion and possibly move forward. Yes, Ms. Sullivan?
I'd like to make a motion
And that would be?
to deny based on the Secretary of Interior standards, and there's no consistency with existing lot sizes, densities, shapes, other characteristics, spacing. This house, yeah, it's on a small piece of property. My issue is, what does the house look like? And it does not look like other houses in the near vicinity. And this is the same thing we said when we voted in April. And I think we need to be, A, we need to be consistent, and B, I've thought about this very seriously, and I think we should deny it, because if we approve it, then we disapproved in April, so why should we approve now? And if we approve now, it's going to mean that other developers are going to come in and say, oh, I want to build a house that looks like this, that does not fit into the character of
We've
10 Mile.
moved from a motion into discussion.
No, it's supposed to be a motion and then
Okay.
an explanation, not an explanation, but just a reason for your motion.
My reasons are Secretary of Interior, C, Secretary of Interior standards, and D, no consistency with existing lot densities, sizes, shapes, other characteristics, and spacing. Thank you.
Okay. There's been a motion. Is there a second? There's been a second at this point. Again, this is a motion to deny based on criteria C and D. And at this time, we will take a vote.
Chairman Millar?
No, I
sorry.
would like discussion.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay. Go on. Discussion.
I think whatever the vote occurs today, if and when the developer chooses to bring these 3 lots back, I think it would be helpful to see them all together in context, because I do think it is difficult to take one property, when there's an opportunity to look at everything together, to take one at a time, it's hard to really assess the full context of what this will look like. So that is just some advice. I've made this comment before, I still feel strongly, if you look at the examples of the style assessment that the community provided as it relates to craftsman style, there are aspects that are reflected here. However, every single one of these examples shows the homes on a raised crawl space with stairs leading up to the front porch, 18 inches on slab and a foot of fill to achieve freeboard, I think is not appropriate in these contexts, and I think it is not historically appropriate. again, as we are looking at architecture and style. In terms of looking at the average lot size, quarter acre or less, the average house size being 1,300 square feet, and this being a little over 2,000 square feet, if I'm correct.
2024.
Yep, is something to note that I do think that that is indicative of the massing being too large for this house. And, but to point out what Commissioner Johnson said, 27 parcels is 12% of the overall parcels in the district. And similarly, houses on lots that are a quarter acre to a half acre, 29 parcels is about 13%. So just putting that into context of these are not combined. These are close to half the entire community, but looking at it like that, it is something to note. But I do believe that tightening up the square footage and overall massing and changing this to a crawl space would be more cohesive with the character as it's reflected by the community's analysis. So those are just my comments I wanted to make on the record.
Comment? May I make a comment?
Make it.
All right. We have I think we have to really honor what the community wants. And we have a petition saying they don't want this. We have some community members who are saying they don't want this. And I really think we need to add their opinions to the vote that we come up with.
I also have something I'd like to say. I think that this 10-mile lot dimension being something that we can actually see now is very important. I think it gives us a lot of information that we did not have before. And it is very diverse, and it shows that there are some strong differences. And now that I can see that, yes, point 13 is less than the point 19, we're still dealing with a lot more square footage than the norm of 1307. I think those numbers speak loudly. I do understand that everything else has been met by the applicant as far as the legalities. But again, there is an ACA here. It's a different situation. And that being said, I think that I have a different vibe, different change of mind because of seeing the lot dimensions, specifically the square footage is a strong issue to me. So again, I'd adhere to what Mr. Crawley has said. I think that there are ways that you can make this happen and still try to satisfy the ACA. I do know that, and I appreciate this set of housing to show the different styles, but I also know that this is not all the housing in this neighborhood, and I think that in this community, and I think it's important that everything should be shown if you're going to show some. Why not all? Thank you, and I appreciate that, but I'm just going by what I was given. So again, I just wanted to make that comment. I do understand the applicant's position, but I also see that the 10-mile lot dimensions are very impactful, and that's my comment or my discussion. So thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I also am concerned about raising the house, I think, up by 1 foot. Is that right, Ms. Dad?
I think the fill is 1 feet. All in all, with the slab, it'd be 18 inches above grade.
Okay, so almost 2. 1.5 foot, okay. So, and I don't know if we can really consider that here, probably not, but I do have a concern about drainage. I've seen so many people in the district that I served before complain about when these fills happen, water run down on their property right next door, and which I really don't think is fair for people who have been there before the new house came. So it should be some kind of requirement for the new houses to maintain the water on their own property.
Are there specific drainage, like French drains?
Can I address some of these comments real quick? I know it's not going to change the vote, that's fine.
Yeah, but
But some of the comments that are being made are just, first of all, the 3 lots have been approved, zoned, approved by Charleston County. The lot sizes are the lot sizes. The lot sizes are not going to change. The stormwater design for those 3 lots have all been approved, engineered and been approved by Charleston County. The plat's been recorded. That process has already been done and been approved. There's certain stormwater requirements that are required by us, by the builder, to ensure that water doesn't shed onto other folks' properties. And that's all done by engineers, not by me. It's way over my head. The comment was made about a raised slab. Well, there are flood requirements. We're only putting 1 foot of fill in there, which was, again, approved by stormwater. Approved by stormwater, Charleston County. But we have to get the first floor elevation up to the level where it's above flood. So there's no way around this. Somebody makes comments about the April, and the February, and the March. We've been back 3 times. We've changed the plans. We took out garages. We've added gravel. We've changed everything that we can think of to meet what you have asked for in the prior meetings. And we keep coming back, and I keep hearing the same comments time after time. And I respect 10 Mile. I respect them. We own that property. It is approved plats. Lot sizes are approved. Setbacks are approved. We pushed houses back. We've lowered the houses. We've taken them from 3 stories to 2 stories. The plan you're looking at is actually a 1.5 story. The massing is not a 2 story. The massing is 1.5. So, again, I know it's not going to change the vote, but I felt like I needed to address the comments that have been made. I'm here to answer any other comments, but we have addressed for months what the commission has asked us to do. And we keep coming back with those changes, and we keep getting denied. So anyway, I appreciate it. All due respect, I respect your vote.
Can I ask one question for him?
Yes, just a second. Sir, I just would like to say one thing, and I do respect the fact that you have met the requirements, but you have to remember also that this is a historic designated community, and it has its own set of, criteria as well, and that's the hard part.
I completely understand that. I respect that. Well, I guess what I'm saying is we address the comments in prior meetings, and we come back and we continue to get denied. That's all. That's all I'm saying.
Yes, ma'am. Would you like to?
We're going down the road.
This would be the last, I've asked for the last comment to be made.
I guess I was just trying to find out if this was the same size, square footage that he presented the last time.
I think it is.
Yes, yes.
It's the same, it is the same square footage as this, because it's the
So
same
that doesn't-
exact design.
As a prior submittal, yes.
Yes.
Not the same lot, but a prior submittal.
All right.
So, Madam Chair, are you not allowing any more comments?
We've had discussion now, the motion's been made, and it's the same people coming back with the discussion. So I think at this point, since there's been a motion and a second, that we should move forward with the vote. I would ask you at this point, there's been a motion to deny this based on criteria C and D. And I think we've all had an opportunity to present comments and discussion, so I would ask for the vote at this time.
In the motion to deny.
On the motion to deny,
Chair Millar.
yes.
Vice Chair Crowley.
No.
Commissioner Johnson. Aye. Commissioner Jones.
Aye.
Commissioner Gardner. Aye. Commissioner Purcell.
No.
Commissioner Sullivan.
Aye.
Commissioner Walsh. The ayes have it.
Okay. This is the final decision of the Historic Preservation Commission. If any person with a substantial interest in the decision of the Historic Preservation Commission chooses to appeal the decision, they may do so to the Circuit Court of Charleston County. Such an appeal shall be filed within 30 calendar days after today's date. Okay, the next agenda item is SBDV-06-23-02467, a subdivision plat application presentation. I've been asked for Tamara to make a short training presentation to let us know what role we play in this particular discussion.
Oh,
Oh, no.
this is, where's the training? It's only touch screen. Okay. It's not there. Okay. All right. Hi. So my name is Tamara Avery, and I'm over the subdivision section of zoning and planning. We have another planner, Matthew Hussman, and our admin, Alex Ludwig. So this is a presentation we give to Planning Commission every year, usually kind of as an annual report, but I have added some additional slides based off of council's direction that minor subdivisions and preliminary plats be brought to HPC. So again, this is staff. The types of plats that we review are exempt, minor. Minor subdivisions are considered 4 lots or less. Major subdivisions are anything from 5 lots or more. Major subdivisions go through a preliminary plat process, and they also go to a final plat process. Types of things that we look at when we receive plats, that is in Chapter 8 of our ZLDR. But basically, we look for title block information, legal descriptions, surveyor certification. Plats have to be signed and sealed by a licensed surveyor. Boundary lines, lot layouts, easements, right-of-ways, topo information, setbacks per zoning districts. Infrastructure and utilities, that's mainly for major subdivisions. However, minor subdivisions have to show that they can provide water and sewer availability either through public resources or through DHEC septic permits. All of our plats do go through a stormwater review with our stormwater department and public works. And we look for things according to Chapter 4 is what we use for our minimum lot size requirement and zoning information. Also, we have OCRM critical lines. They are designated by DHEC OCRM. There has to be a statement on the plat and signed off by that department. They're the only jurisdictional agency that can determine what's considered past the OCRM critical line, saltwater. And then we work with the Army Corps of Engineers. They are the only jurisdictional agency that can determine if something is freshwater wetlands. Freshwater wetlands do not count towards density. So this is an example of Chapter 4 of what we use to determine what the minimum lot size requirements are. And we just did S3 because you'll mainly be seeing historic districts. Exempt plats are anything from a boundary survey, a property line adjustment, an easement establishment, or to reestablish the property line. So a boundary survey is exactly what it is. It is the existing property lines of an existing lot. Property line adjustment, you can take 2 lots and you can abandon a lot line and then you could readjust it, but you still have to meet the minimum lot requirements per the zoning district. You can't make it more non-conforming. Easement establishment, we work with Public Works to establish stormwater easements. And then to reestablish property lines, we do have occasions where sometimes people go from 2 lots to 1 lot and they want to go back to 2 lots. So we allow them to do that as long as they meet the previously recorded approved plat at the Register of Deeds. So this is an example of an exempt plat.
It's a boundary survey, and it just shows the legend. The legend tells you basically what the different line weights and hatching and marker identifications mean. Notes, everything has to have the FEMA flood zone as of 2021. And we have a 3x8 recording block. It gets stamped by our department, and it also gets a recording information from the Register of Deeds office. And this is a property line adjustment. You can kind of see the property line to be abandoned is shown as a dashed line, and the new line being created is shown as a solid line. And an easement establishment is just showing the easement of existing lots. So minor subdivisions, again, are 4 lots or less. They can be accessed by ingress-egress easement. An ingress-egress easement has to meet 20-foot wide. It could be earth surface. However, no more than 4 lots can be accessed off an easement. So if there's currently 4 lots accessing off of a road and there's a 5th lot that wants to be subdivided, then that would trigger the road to be upgraded to meet secondary county road standards. Minor subdivisions go straight to final plat. There's no preliminary plat process. Again, we look at the zoning information, minimum lot requirements. We look at any grand trees. Our ordinance states grand trees are 24 inches or greater diameter at breast height with the exclusion of pine and sweet gums. The parcel has to have legal access, either ingress-egress easement or a right-of-way, and provide utility availability. That's either done through impact and tap fees with public water and public sewer agencies or septic and well permits through DHEC. That's an example of waterfront property being subdivided into 2 lots. Major subdivisions are considered 5 lots or more. This was different several years ago. It used to be anything above 10 lots was considered a major subdivision. We revised the ordinance, so now 5 lots or more is a major subdivision, and that requires that the lots meet secondary county road standards. Secondary county road standards is a 50-foot wide right-of-way with a minimum of 22-foot wide travelway. It has to have positive drainage, and it also has to meet the road surface type of the tie-in street. Major subdivisions start as preliminary plats, and then once all the infrastructure is in place, a final plat is submitted to our office. We do closeout documents and also request information like DHEC permit to operate. And then the final plat is what is recorded at the Register of Deeds office. The Register of Deeds office sends it to the mapping department in the assessor's office. They map the lots in our GIS system and give the individual lots TMS numbers. So again, major subdivision process starts as preliminary plat and then goes to final plat. And this is just kind of the process. Starts as preliminary plat. We work directly parallel with stormwater. Once we get stormwater conditional approval, we will approve the preliminary plat. The developer provides all the other jurisdictional permits, such as DHEC, and then the construction drawings are reviewed and approved. They go out, they put up tree barricades around the grand trees. We do a grand tree inspection, and that is when the developer can submit for a clearing and grading permit with the zoning department. And this is an example of a major subdivision that is waterfront property on Johns Island. This is a section of South Carolina state law, section 6-29-340, the functions, powers, and duties of local planning commission. And it just states that the planning commission has the power and duty to approve or deny plats and all the detailed information. And this is the Historic Preservation Ordinance, Section 21-6A, Subdivision Plat Application Reports. And this is what we will start bringing to this committee for review. The purpose, in order to encourage the preservation of historic character of historic properties in historic districts, preliminary and minor subdivision plat applications as defined in Charleston County ZLDR Ordinance for historic properties / districts and properties located within 300 feet of historic properties and districts. must be evaluated by the commission prior to final determination by the Charleston County Planning Commission. So the process is we will bring plats to this commission, and then we will take the plats again to Planning Commission. And this is the section of the Historic Preservation Ordinance, Section 21-6.d, Commission Public Hearing and Report. So the commission evaluation shall evaluate the subdivision plat application subject to Section 21-6 subdivision plat application reports for compliance with cultural resource element with the comprehensive plan. It is done through public notice and posting signs at the property, just like all the other HPC applications that you review. And the Historic Preservation Commission cannot approve, deny, or defer subdivision applications. And this is the section of our comprehensive plan, the cultural resource elements goal. And this is the section of our comprehensive plan for the cultural resource elements strategies and timeframes. And that concludes the presentation if you have any questions.
Thank you, Tamara. I think at this point it might be a good idea to discuss the role that the commission will play here as an advisory group.
I mean, I can start off. So as Tamara said, you'll be seeing if it's in a historic district or historic property, excuse me, just historic district, that you'll be seeing the subdivision plat applications that are made. Tamara or someone from subdivision division of the planning department will present the application that was made to the county. And what we are, since there won't be a motion, the way this will go is that there's not a motion, there's not a vote for the Historic Preservation Commission to make. However, there will be a tally from each of the commission members as to whether or not they feel the application is consistent with the specific element of the cultural resources element of the comprehensive plan. So in that sense, there will be a tally going to the Planning Commission of what the majority or not of the Historic Preservation Commission, whether they feel it meets the comprehensive plan or not, and that will be forwarded with the report and the reasons why. That's why you'll see in the first application that Tamara presents, we've got a few slides showing the cultural resources element, objectives and strategies, so that the Historic Preservation Commission can select from one of those when each one of y'all make your decision as to whether or not you find it consistent with the comprehensive plan or not. All right? Yes.
Is it for minor subdivisions only?
It's for all subdivisions.
All, okay.
Yes.
Well, minor and preliminary plats.
Right.
So you will not see major subdivision final plats because those follow the preliminary plats.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Any other questions?
And we'll, as we go through each one of them, we'll remind
I think this is
HPC.
kind of a learning
Right.
curve right now.
Well, I guess, so you're saying we are not going to approve, disapprove,
Or deny, right?
deny, but we are going to consider the comprehensive plan.
Correct. So as your name is, there won't be a motion, there won't be a vote, but each commissioner's name will be called and asked whether or not they feel it meets the comprehensive plan or not, the cultural resources element of the comprehensive plan.
That's a love right now.
Yeah, well, you still get your voice heard, and it will be transferred in a report to the Planning Commission. Right.
Any other questions or concerns at this point? We move forward with like I said, this is something new. The subdivisions have not been part of our scope, and so now they are, as far as an advisory role. All right. Tamara, will you move forward, please?
Sure. So our first one is case SBDV 0623-02467. This is a current zoning map. However, I would like to note that this plat was submitted under the R4 zoning before the rezoning of 10 Mile. So therefore, they meet the R4 zoning standards because they are required to meet the standards at the time of application. So I just wanted to point out this does show S3 as the current zoning. However, when they submitted, it was under R4 zoning districts. Future land use map. Aerial map of the property. Flood zone map of the property. This is a site photo of the signs being designated looking straight towards the property. And then pictures of Gadsdenville Road and the adjacent property. This is a copy of the plat. So they're taking 2 existing lots and creating 4 lots. Again, it was submitted during R4 zoning districts as the zoning, so they adhered to those zoning requirements per Chapter 4 of our ordinance. And again, as I mentioned in our previous presentation, South Carolina State Law Section 629-340 puts the Planning Commission, they are the responsible party for approving or denying subdivision plats. And then Historic Preservation Ordinance Section 21-6A Subdivision Plat Application Report. That is what we're presenting to the Commission today. And the Commission evaluation, the posting of it per Section 21-6D. And this is the cultural resource elements goal. And we have the cultural resource elements strategies and time frame. And that's a continuation. I just did it on 2 slides to hopefully make it larger so you could read it. So the notifications of this, 309 notification letters were sent to individuals at East Cooper Historic Preservation Settlement Community and Settlement Commission interested parties list, as well as owners within 300 feet of the subject parcel on June 7th. Additionally, the request was noticed in the Post and Courier on June 7th, and signs were posted June 4th, 2024. Public comment, we received 7 letters in opposition. And this is a slide that kind of states how the commission will form their report that we will include with the presentation to Planning Commission. So that's it for this application. Yes.
Can we go back to that prior slide that showed the lot size comparisons in the different presentation?
Oh.
The one that showed the breakdown of this of 10 Mile. Thank you.
They're all about 1/3 of an acre, right?
So this is going from 2 lots that were 2/3 of an acre, lots that are 1/3 of an acre, is that correct?
Yes, Lot 1B was 0.62 acres and Lot 1C was 0.63 acres. And they are both being subdivided into lots that are now 0.3 acres approximately each.
Question?
Yes, Sullivan?
How long have these lots been this size or these dimensions? Do they go back historically, or were they put in place recently?
You mean the lots as they are existing as 0.6 acres?
That we're showing in what you're showing us?
The four
This
lots.
is what's proposed. It
Proposed.
has not been recorded yet. We have to present it to Historic Preservation Commission, then Planning Commission.
So this is what's being proposed, but we don't know what exists right now.
What exists right
What
now?
exists are two lots at
That's what I'm
0.6 acres.
asking. So
Yes.
what exists, these are historical. They date back to post-Civil War, these lot sizes?
To get that answer, we would have to pull the plats and deed research to see what was the parent parcel. Because zoning and planning looks at parent parcels as of April 21st of 1999. And that's what we used to review for subdivision requirements.
So these reflect 1999,
At least.
what we're looking at least. And I still don't understand why they're being brought to us.
Because of the ordinance change that occurred a month ago.
Right, there's a,
Saying what?
that subdivisions would come to the Historic Preservation Commission for a report to be then taken to the Planning Commission for final decision consistent with state law.
Okay, so you said it'll be brought to us for a report.
Mm-hmm.
So we just make observations.
So you make observations, the ordinance requires that whatever observation each one of the Historic Preservation Commissioners make, that they make their observation in light of the comprehensive plan, specifically the ordinance says the cultural resources element of the comprehensive plan. And Tamara had the strategies and the, I call it objective, but it's not the objective. Anyway, it's the slides that had the goals. Yes, thank you. The goals and strategies of that element. And that's what should be referred to. And when each one of the commissioners' name is called, so that we can make our report for the Planning Commission. There's not a vote of yes or no. There's just an opinion from each one of the planning commissioners as whether it's consistent with the comprehensive plan or not.
I have a question.
Yes.
Were these lots recently purchased in order to subdivide? Or is it just the owner wanting to subdivide, the current owner? Do we know that?
I don't, Tamara, do you have any information on that?
So subdivision plats are submitted through surveyors, so we don't really get into that information. It's just when they're submitted and what it's zoned and does it meet the zoning ordinance. My coworker Matthew just pulled it up. The 0.6 acre lots were created in 1998.
Any other questions for staff?
So they could have been different sizes prior to 1998, sizes and dimensions.
They were.
Okay. And we don't know what they were. It's not documented.
If we go back to the FEMA flood map, I think that you can tell what the surrounding looked like. Can you go back to the slide that shows the larger context where the FEMA flood zones are?
Oops.
That
one?
Yeah. So you can see what the patterns looked like based on this aerial map and how some of the consistencies of subdivision.
We don't know if
And
those have
lots.
changed either.
I mean, it's pretty easy to look at this map and see what the larger lots looked like and then what some of the individual subdivisions. This would have been just like the one that's larger to the left of it, and then it was divided up 3 times. that's pretty consistent with all along this corridor right here. Those sizes were all the same.
And it looks like the lot sizes now are more in line with the 10-mile community lot
Prevailing
sizes.
patterns, yeah.
Anyone else? Any questions for staff? Okay, we got anybody that would like to speak?
Let's see here. Which number was this?
This is number, let's see.
Oh, here, I got 02.
02467.
There it is right here. Pearl.
All right, Pearl, I'll ask you, you're on this particular comment list.
Good evening again. Pearl Askew, 977 Gastonville Road, and this is Allendale. In reference to the information that was just presented, for those, I think it's 3 parcels, the setback, as noted, was consistent with R4 at that time, but in jest, the consistency would still not meet the pattern of the current settlement community district. Residents have not settled the land in this manner in almost 100 years. We have not had other than affordable housing, we have not had homes built as such in a good 80 years in this particular pattern. And currently, none of the 37 developed lots on Gastonville Road are smaller than 0.40 acres. One of the approximately 20 undeveloped lot is smaller than 0.40 acres. These new parcels would be less than that. And again, we have to go back to the foundation and the origin of historical African American communities. Charleston County, when dealing with the comprehensive plan from the consultant, suggested that these 24 settlement communities needed to have some type or some kind of protection, historically, if you will. Most of these communities date back to after Reconstruction, and we are here as a settlement community, 10 Mile being one of the bigger with the bigger parcels of land. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. It's not about having someone not building homes or having homes. But when these houses are cluttered, as some of the homes are now, it's disastrous. Not only for changing the culture and the character, but the newcomers, there's a safety issue involved, aside from protecting our settlement communities. These new lots is not consistent with the area character and the culture of the 10 Mile community. Thank you.
That was it.
All right. The presentation is now closed to public comment. The commission provides a report on the consistency of the application with the comprehensive plan. The report is made from the findings of the commission. The floor is now open to discussion from commission members.
Why were there 2 sheets? Sorry.
Oh, gosh. I don't know where the other one is.
Hold on.
Let's see, 6, 7.
Okay, Myra, I'm sorry. There were 2
There are
sheets.
several sheets
Yeah,
here.
Myra Richardson. Sorry
Is there
about that.
anybody else on here?
That's it.
We'll
Yeah.
have those together.
Wayne, do all of them have 2 sheets? So,
All except for the last subdivision.
okay,
See if
okay.
that one's got another
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, well, thank you. It does, this one.
Hello again. My name is Mara Richardson. Protect and preserve what they have in place. Developers are acquiring lots, some adjacent to each other, and creating minor subdivisions with setbacks that are not the characteristics of the 10-mile historic district. I would recommend keeping the lots in their original size, which are more consistent with the average lot size in the historical district. A better fit would be to actually combine the two original lots. I would also recommend setbacks consistent with the majority of the historical district. R4 setbacks are not consistent with the prevailing pattern of the settlement communities. In the settled community, as Mr. German stated, from the Snowden community, the Hamlet community are trying to become historically preserved as well. When you come before the commission and hearing what's going on in the committee today and the things that are happening behind the scenes, these things are put in place. There are recommendations for them to pass it on. So if a developer is coming to you for something that is not consistent with what the historical district have already done with the ACA, why are we entertaining what they bring before you? If the houses are too large for the lots, why are you getting these new developments? They're bringing in fill dirt, which is causing flooding in our areas, which is overflooded now because of the water table. We're asking to be protected. If you're the committee that protects us, then why are we allowing things to come before this committee that's not inside the characteristic inside the plan? Stick to the plan, and we will be safe. Thank you.
Now we're done.
Was there anyone else?
No, that's
Okay. All right. I believe that was the last public comment. The commission provides again the report, and the floor is now open to discussion from commission members. All right, Mr. Crowley?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. If we can go back to that overall map that had the larger, the bigger.
The FEMA map?
The FEMA map that showed the lots. I think that it's very indicative of the settlement patterns that the community is talking about. What we have been hearing for a while is that these properties, when they were originally created, platted, and sold off to families, tended to be larger in size, and you can see some of that here surrounding these two parcels, and were subdivided over time, but still in larger lots. What I can tell based on the one next to it, that this probably would have been one family dividing off 3 lots into, see it getting smaller than this in any sort of typical pattern or rhyme or reason until these more recent subdivisions under the R4 zoning, which makes me concerned that going down from these 2 larger lots of 2/3 of an acre to 4 1/3 of an acre lots is inconsistent with the typical patterns that we've been looking at in this community for a very long time, and I don't think is consistent with the comprehensive plan recommendation CR7, which states continuing to protect rural historic landscapes by ensuring development is in character with inherent rural attributes. So if that's what we are looking at as one of our recommendations, I don't think that this would meet that.
Mr. Crawley? Yes, Ms. Sullivan?
Okay, along the lines of what Mr. Crowley just said, it was created as a result of a study that was conducted by New South Associates to look at the settlement communities in Charleston County. And the unique thing that they found was the patterns, the path patterns, the street patterns. Not only were they different from the suburbs that were being developed. Suburbs are ticky-tacky, like this. The settlement street patterns are, they just kind of flow. And New South recommended that the street patterns be protected. So if you look at Hamlin, if you look at 10 Mile, if you look at Saul Legree, if you look at Snowden, and so on, they're all over Charleston County. Each street pattern is different, and that's what we're trying to preserve here. And the streets define the lots. So what's happening here, I know we don't get a vote, we get to comment, so I'm commenting. Dividing these lots is, in my opinion, egregious to what already exists, and they should not be changed. So,
Thank you, Ms. Sullivan. Any other comment or discussion? Hearing none. There's no further discussion. I'm not sure how we want to call it vote, so.
Yeah, so each of your names will be called, and you just state
Yes or
whether or
no.
not it's consistent with the comprehensive plan or not. And if you could be specific, as Mr. Crowley was, and during his discussion, that would be helpful, I think, to the report to the Planning Commission.
Okay, Chair Millar, is it consistent or inconsistent?
I do not feel it's consistent, and I believe, again, there's many numbers, point, et cetera, and I'm not familiar with all of them, but I do not see it following the pattern with the different size lots and road structures, et cetera.
Vice Chair Crowley?
This is not consistent with the comprehensive plan's recommendation CR7 to continue to protect rural historic landscapes by ensuring development is in character with inherent rural attributes.
Commissioner Johnson?
I don't think it's meeting criteria one, which under the comprehensive plan says that we should continue to promote historic preservation and enhance the county's historic preservation ordinance. So I'm going to go with 1 and 7.
Commissioner Jones?
It is not consistent, and I cite CR7 as well as CR5.
Commissioner Gardner?
It is not consistent, and I cite CR1, CR7, and CR9.
Commissioner Purcell?
It is not consistent in my opinion, and I cite CR1 and CR7.
Commissioner Sullivan?
Just 1 second.
Excuse me, while we're waiting on Ms. Sullivan, could I go ahead
So
and
it's
cite?
CR2, continue to work with communities to preserve the unique settlement patterns and community character, including historic property district designations, community plans, and overlay zoning districts.
Inconsistent.
Ms. Sullivan, she didn't hear what your recommendation was.
Inconsistent is what you're...
Is it consistent or inconsistent, Ms. Sullivan?
Inconsistent.
Okay.
Egregiously
That's what
inconsistent.
she was wanting to hear, yeah.
Commissioner Walsh?
I would say it's inconsistent. I would use as a foundation for that. I thought the CR numbered items were strategies for moving forward, but I would go back to the foundational document, section 3.4.3 of the cultural resources element in the comprehensive plan, and say that this does not follow the goal of preserving the county's significant historic and cultural heritage.
Everyone on the commission finds it inconsistent.
And yeah, I would like to just add my specific, after reviewing, I believe I would like to follow CR1 as my recommendation, and CR7 and CR9. Thank you.
Madam Chair, can I amend my opinion? I'd like to add CR1 to my
Okay. All right. Moving forward, the next agenda item is again SBDV 07-23-02493. Again, a subdivision plat application presentation. Tamara, please discuss.
Yeah, it's not popping up on this screen. I don't know what's going on. How do I
Just
get
let you
my-
have, there's so many sheets around here. So we have what, 1, 2, 3. Jeez, it's been a long day.
No, yeah. Okay. And then you want to start the second case. Yeah. Okay. So this is the second subdivision application, case SBDV 07-23-02493. The applicant is taking one lot and creating 3 lots. This is the current zoning map. Again, this was submitted to Charleston County subdivision under R4 zoning district, and that is the minimum lot requirements that they are required to meet at the time of application. Future land use. The aerial map. FEMA flood zone. This is site photos from when we posted the property. This is looking across the street and down the street towards Theodore Road. This is the plat that was submitted to us. So it is a subdivision of a 1.12 acre property, and they are creating 3 lots, approximately 0.36, 0.37, and 0.38 acres. This is the section of the ZLDR that we used to review the lots, and this was the minimum lot size standards that they needed to meet per subdivision requirements. South Carolina state law, section 629-340, which states any approval or denial of subdivision plats is done through Planning Commission. And section 21-6 of the Historic Preservation Ordinance that states subdivision plat application and our purpose. And section 21-6-D, Commission Public Hearing and Report. And again, the cultural resource elements. The property was notified with 303 notification letters were sent to individuals on the East Cooper and Historic Preservation Settlement Community and Settlement Commission interested parties list, as well as properties within 300 feet of the subject parcel on June 7th, 2024. Additionally, the request was posted in the Post and Courier on June 7th, and signs were posted on the property June 4th, 2024. The application received 7 letters in opposition and a petition with 67 signatures. Okay, and that is that presentation.
Petition was in opposition, is that correct?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Public comment.
Myra Richardson. And Pearl Askew will be after Myra.
Hello again. Thank you for listening. Myra Richardson, 2755 Earl Johnson Lane, president of the Hamlin Beach community. We stand with the 10 Mile community and asking you to deny this request. Developers are acquiring lots some adjacent to each other, and creating minor subdivisions with setbacks that are not consistent with the characteristic of the 10-mile community, I will ask you to check with all of these projects. Is it the same developer that's picking off property piece by piece through this community to create micro subdivisions? And the developer is the one that submitted this plan. Do we have the house sizes that they're planning on doing once they get these things approved? Will they be coming back with the same plans to put houses on these properties that are oversized and that does not fit the characteristics of the neighborhoods? All of our neighborhoods, the settlement communities, especially in Mount Pleasant area, we're experiencing this problem. The Hamlet community will be before you on July 8th with the same issues. The Snout community is trying to get water and sewer. We can't get water and sewer in these communities until a developer comes in and take over these lots. Then it's easy to get water and sewer. You have to annex into Mount Pleasant if you're building something new. There was a meeting on June 5th with the 41 community with DHEC about the road going through 41. What was stated was by the mayor of Mount Pleasant that they're trying to acquire property because it's easier to get through county than it is to get through Mount Pleasant. So county, you should not have that mark, even if it's not true. It should not be stated that to protect communities or protect land, Mount Pleasant is the best place to go. We don't have that with Mount Pleasant. We have to come to you. So please, once again, protect the settlement communities, not just in the Mount Pleasant area, but all of the properties in the settlement community all over your county. We need your help. We need your help now. We need you to stay and stand with us to protect us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Richardson.
Pearl Askew.
Good evening again. Pearl Askew, 977 Gastonville Road, Allendale, 29429. Prior to my making a statement in reference to the concerns, there was a petition for the first set of information that was presented for the first parcels, I believe. There's a petition that we just want to make sure that was noted. And also, in regards to the presentation, again, thank you for sticking with the comprehensive plan, sticking with the information that was actually presented by our consultant to help preserve the settlement communities. And as stated, this is not consistent with the pattern in the 10-mile community, and we appreciate you sticking with the comprehensive plan and the consultant's recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. No other. All right.
No.
Presentation is now closed to public comment. Again, Commission provides a report on the consistency of the application with the comprehensive plan. Report is made from the findings of the Commission. The floor is now open to discussion from Commission members.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
If we go back to the aerial map, I think that is a good indicator, again, of what the settlement patterns look like on Theodore Road, which is a different part of this community. And the lot sizes are all very similar and consistent until 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lots down is indicative of what this would be looking like. You can see that there is right next door an example of it being subdivided once, but not twice in the middle. So if you see the one next to it, that would essentially be the equivalent of this property being subdivided once. If you look 6 down, you're closer to what it would look like if it was divided 3 times. So you can really start to see how it changes, and on the other slide where it's the aerial view, seeing what that looks like when it's then developed, again, is demonstrative of what the community is talking about in terms of the patterns, the setbacks, and the impacts when we start getting to these very small lots. So I do have concerns about this as well being subdivided into 3 lots. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Crawley. Would you please Tamara, put up that aerial view again?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. And maybe, if you could, maybe just enlarge that a little bit, possible. Thank you. And I'm following with Mr. Crawley, making the comment, if you move downward to your right, and let's see what he was speaking. If you go to the right, my right, on the same line of properties, you're kind of going away from it now.
Yeah,
There you go.
there you go.
That's, I believe, what he's stating, and also my thoughts as well. You can see where the size of the lots are shrinking and due to the subdividing. So I just wanted to give the commission that view as well. Thank you, Tamara.
Comment?
Yes.
Could you also show how close these are on the opposite side of Highway 17 from what we have been typically looking at?
No.
They're on the same side.
Theodore Road.
This is just, so this is just on the edge of the southern part of the district, of the main district. This is just on the northern edge of the district.
17 is up in the upper
Left
left-hand
corner.
corner.
Okay.
Yep.
I've gotten ahead of myself.
Any other discussion, comment? We could probably move forward then and vote on this particular report. I would go with the same vote that I had previously. I do not feel it follows patterns for the development for the community. And I, again, would go with my original CR1, excuse me, there's so many numbers here. I believe that the same exact numbers that I had before. Was that, let me see.
1 and 3, I think.
7.
1, 3, and 7? Okay, yes, that's what I'd like to state then.
CR 1, 3, and 7.
1, 3, and 7.
Vice Chair Crowley.
This is not consistent with the comprehensive plan and does not follow the recommendations of CR7.
Commissioner Johnson.
I would say it does not conform with the comprehensive plan, and my numbers would be CR 1, 7, and 9.
Oh, you got it. Commissioner Jones.
It is not consistent with the comprehensive plan, and I cite CR1, CR3, and CR7.
Commissioner Gardner.
It is not consistent with the comprehensive plan, and I cite CR1, 3, 7, and 9.
Commissioner Purcell.
It is not consistent with the comprehensive plan, and I cite CR1, CR3, and CR7.
Commissioner Sullivan.
Inconsistent with the comprehensive plan, and I cite CR 1, 3, and 7.
And Commissioner Walsh.
Not consistent with section 3.4.3 of the comprehensive plan cultural resources element. And if I jump on the bandwagon with denoting some of these numbered items, seems like CR7 is a popular one. I'll go with that.
Yep. Okay. All right. Forward. The next agenda is SBDV-02-24-02710, a subdivision plat application presentation. A staff review. Tamara, please.
Matthew Husman's actually going to give his
Okay.
presentation.
All right.
So,
All right, hello, everyone. We're going to go over SBDV 02-24-02710, which is proposed by the applicant, is taking one existing lot and creating 2 lots out of that. You can see the current zoning of this property is rural residential. There was no change in the property zoning. Future land use is rural residential as well. And then we have an aerial view of the property. Here's a FEMA flood map showing AE and shaded X site photos. And then photos of Chandler Road and the adjacent lot. Here's the plat showing the 2 new lots at the front of Chandler Road and the residual. This is the rural residential zoning district. And then we have State Law 6-29-340, the duties of the Planning Commission. We have the purpose of the Historic Preservation Ordinance, Section 21-6, and then Section 21-6 continued. And then we have the Charleston County Comprehensive Plan Cultural Resources element, and that is continued with the cultural resources. We sent out 300 notifications to individuals in the East Cooper and Historic Preservation Settlement Community and Settlement Commission interested parties list, as well as property owners within 300 feet of the subject parcel on June 7th. Additionally, a notice was placed in the Post and Courier on June 7th, and signs were posted on the 4th of June, 2024. We received 1 letter of support, 7 letters of opposition, and a petition in opposition with 29 signatures.
Matthew, can you go back to what the zoning is and what the lot size is that's being proposed again?
Of course.
Please, yeah.
The zoning is rural residential. The current lot is 12 acres with a potential of 4 lots to be created. They are creating 2 new lots with a residual of 8 acres.
And what size lot exactly are they proposing?
Both lots are approximately 1.5 acres.
Okay, thank you.
So can you clarify, when you say they have the potential of creating 4 lots and they're creating 2 lots, so that's 3, they have the potential to create 1 more?
1 more.
So it's 3 acres total.
Each lot is,
We take density, that's our density, so it's basically 1 lot per 3 acres. So this is a 12-acre parcel, so it has the potential to be subdivided into 4 lots.
And I just want to remind the commissioners where we are in 10 Mile with this. This is on the other side, I'll say, the northwest side. Yes, thank you, Ms. Sullivan. This is on the west side of 10 Mile. It has a totally different zoning than the east side of 10 Mile, where east side of 10 Mile was R4, and you saw Tamara's presentations for that when before it was changed to S3. But this side of the 10 Mile district, the zoning was not changed, and it was rural residential. Yeah. Just wanted to get everyone's bearings.
I have a question for staff. Can you go back to the proposed plat? I just can't really zoom in on mine. So what is the right-of-way that's going through what that it's using as the property boundary on?
Chandler Road.
No, the other end. So do you see the dash line on the other lot? It kind of looks like right? So now it's in the bottom left of your screen.
I believe that's a 20-foot public drainage easement.
Okay, so they're essentially using a drainage easement as their boundary line of their new lots?
No. Let me see if I can.
I'm just curious why these lots don't extend back as far as the existing lots to
The ordinance
bottom.
allows for a ratio of 1-to-5 for lot depth, so they couldn't extend any further without exceeding the 1-to-5 ratio.
Got it.
Yeah, we discourage the long, skinny lots.
Got it. Okay. I was just trying to figure out why they weren't consistent with the other lots below it.
The ones below it may have had enough width to get to the 1-to-5, or they were created before the 1-to-5 ratio requirement.
Since there is the ability of creating 1 more subdivision, are there requirements by the county of how that division would be done? Does it have to be, like, let's say they were to just keep that back boundary line going and you now have 3 lots that are about the same size, and then you've got that big piece in the back that's not accessible? Or, I mean, what are the rules for how that final subdivision would look?
Yeah, we wouldn't be allowed to what we call landlock a piece of property. So one of those parcels, probably the next one to be created, would have to show an access easement through it to get to that back lot. At the very minimum, would have to be an access easement of a minimum of 20 feet.
Is there any other questions or discussion? Do we have some comment? Do we have public comment?
Oh, yeah, we have Pearl Askew. And that was it on that one.
Good evening again. Pearl Askew, 977 Gadsdenville Road, Arundel, 29429. In regards to this particular parcel, it's unclear whether the new parcel will remain ag or would it be used for residential. And if this changed to residential, these lots would not support the rural residential zoning of 1 dwelling per 3. Will it be different? We don't know. And this parcel is zone rural residential. This is our statement regarding this particular request. Thank you.
And Myra Richardson. Well, I have to explain how density works, so that it still meets the. So if someone wants to ask that.
Hello again, Myra Richardson, 2755 Earl Johnson Lane. One question, rural residential. Can someone put in the record what rural residential means?
Yeah, we were just talking about that, yeah. So it sounded like from Ms. Askew's comment that we needed to explain that. So rural residential allows up to 1 dwelling unit per 3 acres. That's the overall density of the tract. There's a minimum lot size of 30,000 square feet. So the way that works is that if you have a lot that can be, you can subdivide, and if you have 9 acres, you can subdivide that into 3 parcels. 2 of those parcels can be a minimum of 30,000 square feet, and then the other one will be the remainder, so that you're not breaking that density, even though you might happen to have a little bit smaller lot sizes. And that's throughout our ordinance. That's to allow a little bit of flexibility for people to be able to subdivide their property, because not everyone wants a 3-acre piece of parcel, piece of land, but in our ordinance, and a 30,000 square foot lot is considered rural. It's not anywhere near the R4 or S3 because, and in this case, the subdivision is each one of them is a little bit over an acre, I believe, 1.25?
1.5.
1.5, yeah, 1.5 acres, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
9 of the 26 lots on Chandler Road are smaller than 1.7 acres. This new parcel would be less than that, which is not part of the pattern for that property and what you explained, the 3 acres. Is it possible for more than 4 lots with the parcels remaining under ownership of the same person, or more than 4 principal dwellings adhering to the setbacks requirement for this property? It becomes a gray area when a parcel can be carved out of without meeting the zoning requirements. If the parcel is sold 3, 6, a year, 2 years from now, can the new owner now have a parcel that would meet the zoning requirement? Would they also be able to build on the parcel It is also, can they also have a new TMS number, which is no longer linked to the parent TMS number? My question to you is, with all the things that are happening, we see everything that's involving the 10-mile community that's come up today. When you're building something new, if you're separating these parcels, they're going to come back to want to build homes. With the ordinance set up in Mount Pleasant and with Mount Pleasant Waterworks, that's supposed to be two separate entities, you have to promise, or you're basically forced to sign a contract to say you will annex into Mount Pleasant once Mount Pleasant touches your property. To you as our county officials, we're losing ground in county to Mount Pleasant. The more that are built and that ordinance is in place and we don't enforce the ordinance that we stay in the county, as soon as they touch Mount Pleasant, they have to annex into Mount Pleasant. So is county going to still exist if this continues to happen? As in the Snowden community, there are people that wants to build in Snowden right now that they're going to be forced to annex into Mount Pleasant based on their location and where their property lies right now. If we continue to allow these subdivisions and these new developments to come in, county is going to continue to lose property. Our communities are going to now become, my house as the parent house is in Charleston County. My child house right next to me will be in the town of Mount Pleasant if my property touches the town of Mount Pleasant. When are we going to get beyond this point and fight for the settlement communities that we do not have to annex into Mount Pleasant if we want to build a new dwelling? Thank you.
There were a lot of questions in there.
There's a lot of questions.
Yeah, there are a lot of, I'll try to address a couple of them. It's my understanding right now that the requirement to annex into the town is, I think, being discussed with county officials right now because there's some disagreements on that requirement. However, that only, even though disagreement aside, the town and Mount Pleasant Waterworks, that is only done for sewer, if you want sewer service.
And we want sewer.
Right, yeah. I don't know that sewer, Tamara, can you correct me? In RR3 here, I don't think sewer is available on this side of 17. I don't either. At a 1.5 acre lot, that can usually, and it's required by subdivision, that can easily be served by a septic field. So there would be no reason for the property owners on this side of 17 to be subject to an annexation requirement for sewer when you have a lot sizes this size, you usually don't tie into sewer because you have enough land for a septic field. Okay.
Correct.
All right.
I'm talking generally over.
You were talking generally,
I'm
not
talking
this
over
specific.
not this
Okay, sorry.
specific property.
Yep.
I'm talking
Yes.
generally over the county.
Okay.
And we have
I'm
this
on-
issue.
I'm on
and
this.
We're on this one, but
Yep.
I'm just saying that there's so many things, and a lot of people don't understand that, and maybe don't, like how Mr. Germans was stating. We want to become a part of this, and we have a lot of explaining to do to the residents that want to become a part and be historically protected. So these are questions that we need answers to.
Okay.
And that's what the answers we're looking for.
I'm with you.
Protect us.
And if you're inside the urban growth boundary and you have access to sewer, then that's when all what you discussed about annexation, and like I said, I know that's being discussed by my higher ups and county council along with the county attorney and Mount Pleasant Waterworks in the town. That hope will eventually work itself out. But back to your other question, I think about this. I hope everyone understood what I was describing about the density and the lot size. And so each lot that gets created, it does get its own TMS number. And you can build, when you come to subdivide with the county, we're also telling you 9 times out of 10 that you can build a dwelling on that parcel. There are some exceptions to that. But yes, these lots are being subdivided with the county knowing that a principal dwelling unit could be built on them. It has to meet our requirements of a buildable area. They've got to provide DHEC letter that a septic, that the property can support a septic system. They got to show where they're getting their water, whether it's from Mount Pleasant Water Works or they're going to do a well. So all of that is wrapped up in the subdivision process.
Okay. Thank you.
This particular parent tract of what we're dealing with, it can only have 4 lots in the end. It cannot be subdivided further according to our ordinance. Even if one of those lots, even if one of the last ones is, looks like it's much larger than the other ones, it still could not be subdivided further once that density has been used up.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you.
Okay.
No other speakers. Is that correct?
That's it. Okay.
All right, this presentation is now closed to public comment. We have, again, the report on the consistency of the application, and with the comprehensive plan, the report is made from the findings of the commission. Floor is now open to discussion from the commission members. Any discussion on this particular size lot?
Madam Chair,
Yes,
I just
ma'am.
had a question. So just to be clear, this is a 12-acre lot that has currently been subdivided into 2 1-acre lots,
One and a half.
1.5 acre lots, and then the remaining, is it what, 8, 1.5, 8? Okay. That's what we're looking at
That's
at this
correct,
point.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and so, again, if this gets approved by planning commission, it would still stand that you could only get 1 more extra lot out of this remainder, what we call the residual of the parent tract. So somebody's going to have a large lot in the end.
Yep, if it passes. Any other discussion or questions to staff? Hearing none, we will vote on the report.
No votes.
Oh, excuse me, well, it says vote. in
Oh, I
my-
guess,
in my
sorry.
paper,
Okay.
sorry. Advise. how about
Advi-
that?
Yeah.
Chair Millar.
I feel this does meet the comprehensive plan. The size, in my opinion, would be 1.5 acre. It's nothing, I feel like, and the fact that you said it could only be one other lot created if this does pass. So I, again, just getting this as first knowledge, looking through these different strategies, I would go with the CR7. I feel that it does protect the landscape because development is in character with some of the development that's going on.
Vice Chair Crowley.
I also agree that this is consistent with the comprehensive plan and does follow CR7.
Commissioner Johnson.
So you can go to the next person?
Commissioner Jones.
I agree that it's consistent with the comprehensive plan, and I cite CR7.
Commissioner Gardner.
I would agree that it is consistent, and I would cite CR7 as well.
Commissioner Purcell.
Agree that it is consistent, and I cite CR7.
Commissioner Sullivan.
I don't know what to comment other than leave it as it is, so whatever the answer to that is.
Not consistent.
No, they want to change it.
Do you think it's consistent? with the
Consistent or not consistent with the comprehensive plan for the county?
So it's 8 acres, and they want to create 2 lots.
It's 12 acres.
All right, I'll go with 7.
Consistent or not consistent?
Consistent.
Commissioner Walsh.
Consistent, 7.
Commissioner Johnson, are you ready?
Okay, I just wanted to ask one question too. We didn't have any opposition to this, right?
I think we had 7 letters of
Oh.
opposition. Yeah.
1 in favor, 7 in opposition, and a petition in opposition with 29 signatures.
29 signatures in opposition.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I was almost prepared to say consistent, but I'll go with being consistent with the plan. However, I feel that the community is saying that this is not something that they see consistent going forward. And we certainly don't want to be at a point where county doesn't have any residents in the historic district because of issues like this one.
So we hear that you're.
I'm going to go with the 7, yes.
So
Being
consistent
consistent.
and
Being
so
consistent.
noted. So noted you're concerned.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I believe that, let's move forward to our last item as far as subdivision.
Chair, can we take 5? I am freezing.
Oh, okay.
If we could just take 5 for me to go in the hallway and warm up.
You go outside, you'll get warm up.
Oh, yeah, 107 out there. At this time, we'll take a 5-minute break.
Working pretty hard here this evening.
Yeah, usually my, that's probably my, they call it vaso or whatever.
Jeez.
Robbie Maynard.
There is warm water in the restroom. Not all of them are warm. I mean, not his floor, and I can chill the rest of the day.
We'll ask everyone to back to their places and resume the meeting, please. We got everybody back. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Moving forward, the next agenda item is SBDV-02-24-02716, a subdivision plat, application presentation.
Perfect. All right.
Thank you.
As you said, this is subdivision application 02-24-02716 for the subject property TMS 583 ending in 114. Applicant is proposing to take one existing lot of 1.36 acres and create a total of 2 lots. This is the current zoning map. The property was zoned R4 at the time of application. It is currently zoned S3. Future land use and an aerial of the property, as well as a FEMA flood map showing X flood zone. Here are the site photos for the property, along with Bennett Charles Road and the adjacent lot. And here is the plat for application for the 2-lot subdivision. Under S3, this is the S3 zoning. Here's the SC State Law Section 6.29-340, Powers of the Planning Commission. Historic Preservation Ordinance, Section 21-6, Subdivision Plat Application Reports, and D, Commission Public Hearing Report. And then we have the Comprehensive Plan 3.4.3, Cultural Resource Element Goal, and 3.4.3, Cultural Resource Element Strategies and Timeframes, which is continued on this page and this page. SBDV 02716 sent out 323 notification letters to individuals on the East Cooper and Historic Preservation Settlement Community and Settlement Commission interested parties list, along with property owners within 300 feet of the subject property on June 7th, 2024. Additionally, a request was noticed in the Post and Courier on June 7th, 2024, and signs were posted on the 4th of June, 2024. There's no public comment received for this property.
Thank you, Matthew. We appreciate your report.
I have I
okay.
made an error. This was actually not R4. This was S3. My apologies.
Okay, you told me that was one of the ones that was not retroactive or not grandfathered into this.
Correct.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, so
There was a
S3.
typo on the PowerPoint.
Okay.
My apologies.
And could you tell us the acreage one more time?
Sure. It is 1.36 acres, and it's being subdivided into 0.86 of an acre and 0.50 of an acre.
Okay, thanks.
And could you show an aerial? And how close to the river is this?
Matthew, what are the size of those lots that are the smaller lots? Are those all quarter acre or less? That's what it looks like?
On Bobo Lane?
On Bobo?
They look to be about, I don't have an exact number.
Okay, about a quarter of an acre or less?
They are 0.36 acres.
Oh, okay, 0.36.
PD? Okay.
And so what is for S3 the minimum lot size?
12,500.
And this would be 21,000 for A2 and 37,600 for A1.
Yes. Twice.
So they would meet the criteria that based on that, okay. All right, any more, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Yeah, can we go back?
Crowley.
Sorry about that. May we go back to the map that showed the neighborhood? Yep. Can you do the flood one? It's just a little bit easier to see.
Flood.
Yeah. Just wanted to point out, you can see some of the original size of the lot sizes down towards the bottom right. Those two lots are examples of larger original lots. If you imagine just the original rectangles, Bobo Lane would have been the same thing before it was subdivided. Bennett Charles has those sort of funny, wide, narrow lots because the road goes in between one of those original lots, and then the lots were subdivided on each one, and again, consistently going up. So if you look at the original plat of the community in the 1870s, those are some of the original boundary lines that were noted in the historic district designation. In my opinion, this is consistent with the settlement community's desires when they established S3 zoning to maintain at least 12,000 square foot lots, and this would actually be within plenty of space of still having a half acre on that new lot. So while it is a subdivision, the community has always been very vocal on their lot sizes that they want to maintain in here, and it looks very similar to some of the other ones that are around Bennett Charles.
Any other comments or questions to staff? Hearing none. Do we have any public comment for this?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Barbara Whitacombe.
Good afternoon. I'm Barb Whitacombe, 2981 Bennett Charles Road, Mount Pleasant, 29466. I'm the owner of this property, and there was no place to put a purpose for the subdivision. I've enjoyed living in Phillips community since about 1980, but it's house taxes and everything else are going up. I really can't afford financially or the work involved with keeping up with my 1.5 acre and large house. I need to downsize, and that's the purpose of the subdivision.
Thank you.
Unless you have a question.
Have anyone else?
No, that's it.
Okay, that concludes our public comment section. Again, the commission provides a report on the consistency of the application with the comprehensive plan. The report is made from the findings of the commission. Floor is now open to discussion from commission members. Anyone? No? All right, hearing none, then I go ahead and do the advisory vote.
Chair Millar?
Yes. Oh,
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I thought somebody was calling my name on the
I'm
stand.
gonna have to smack you.
I know, right? I feel this is consistent with the plan, and again, I would go with C7.
Vice Chair Crowley?
I believe that this is consistent with the comprehensive plan and follows the recommendations of CR1.
Commissioner Johnson? Okay.
Consistency this time.
Would you like to cite a number?
She can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize someone has turned my mic off. Maybe they don't want me to vote on it. Well, not vote, comment, huh?
Advise.
Advise. I'll go along with this. So, citing, I guess number 7, CR7.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes, it's consistent with the comprehensive plan, and I cite CR1 and CR7.
Commissioner Gardner?
I will say yes, it is consistent, and I will cite CR7 and CR9.
Commissioner Purcell?
I believe that it is consistent with the comprehensive plan, and I cite CR3 and CR7.
Commissioner Sullivan?
Yeah, I'm thinking of the National Register application and that they are approved based on street patterns. So street patterns are not affected here. So I think this is fine. And I would go with one, seven.
Commissioner Walsh?
Consistent. I think CR7 covers the bill here.
Okay, thank you. All right. All right, the Planning Commission will hear this subdivision plat application at their July 10th, 2024 meeting at 2 p.m. in council chambers. As a reminder, the conceptual plan workshop will begin immediately following the conclusion of today's Historic Preservation Commission meeting. If there is no further business, this meeting of the Charleston County Historic Preservation Commission stands adjourned, and the commission will hold its next regularly scheduled meeting on July 17th, 2024 in council chambers.
Where is the applicant?
So let's roll. Are y'all ready? Let's get going.
So yeah, just shout at me if you need me to change it.
If it's okay with everyone, we will go ahead and get started since we have had quite the long session. Okay. All right. Welcome to the June 26th Charleston County Historic Preservation Commission workshop. This workshop has been noticed in compliance with the South Carolina Freedom of Information Act. The first item on the agenda is a conceptual plan workshop described by the applicant as 2 single-story office buildings having 4,500 square feet on each side of the cell tower located at 2521 North Highway 17. The property and area of improvements is zoned Village Commercial and is located in the vicinity of Boone Hall. The existing building on site is called to remain. Mr. Kyle Taylor will present. Appreciate your patience today.
Likewise. That works better.
There you go.
That look all right for you guys?
How are you? Yes. Go back some more.
Should I stand in front of the mic? Is that helpful? I don't know if this is.
I think that would be,
Mike is good.
yes, please. Just, if you would, state your name and your address, please.
My name is Kyle Taylor. I'm an engineer with Taylor Consulting Group, and I'm representing the property owner, an applicant for this property, the former Boone Hall Farms Market property off of Highway 17 North. And so today is a workshop, so it's meant to provide for some engagement, hear any discussion, hear any comments from the board, of course with the intent of coming back, hopefully in the near future, for a vote asking for approval for a certificate of historical appropriateness for, as the description stated, 2 new office buildings on the 2-acre property. And It's probably very important to note for the record at the beginning that this is not a historic district property, but it is subject to the historic certificate requirements being in proximity to Boone Hall, being within 300 feet of Boone Hall Plantation across the street. So, and in working on this property, Boone Hall Plantation is actually a very, very large property. So this is on the northern area of the proximity of Boone Hall Plantation off of Highway 17. So just to go through the scope, and maybe helpful if I can point to the board, but in the top left of the board are the existing conditions, and it's also, if we can pull up the existing conditions just to get a bearing on the property.
And it is on your iPads also.
It is.
Just get a bearing on the property as it is today. And again, this property is along Highway 17 North, across the street from Boone Hall Plantation. I don't know if we have an aerial, but I do have an iPad if it's helpful to get bearings on where the property is. But if there's no, since this is somewhat informal, are there any questions on where the property is? Are there any questions? Otherwise, I'll just continue.
What's there now?
So you're looking at existing conditions. So right now is Modern Manor. It was formerly the Boone Hall Farms Market Building, which is a 10,000 square foot building.
Oh, it's a new business there now.
It's a new business, yep. So the property changed hands just a few short years ago, 2 to 3 years ago. The property changed hands. I actually have a statement from the former property owner, the family that owned the property for quite some time. So I do have a statement from them in support of this.
The Hamlins, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. The Hamlin family. So right now, the businesses have changed hands just a bit, and it's currently what I would describe as a home goods store called Modern Manor, and I believe they're doing well. So that's the new business that's housed on the property. So the first portion of the property is developed. The rear portion of the 2-acre property has a cell tower existing as well. There's some gravel areas. There's rural residential to the south. As part of the transaction for this property, there's some rural residential to the plan right, so to the east. And then to the north is effectively some gravel parking area that's zoned commercial as well. So this property is fully zoned commercial, and then the rear adjacent properties behind it are zoned residential. So this property is fully zoned commercial within some overlay districts of the area. And I'm happy to speak about the zoning if there's any questions about that, but it's zoned village commercial. And the project's been in the works for quite some time. Maybe the staff would probably know even better than me, maybe over a year now. So the plan, we can, I think, turn to the site plan. The plan's quite matured from a staff review standpoint. We're just buttoning up some final items with staff and the BZA because it is a bit of a challenging property. But as you can see in front of you and to the top right of the poster presentation board is the site plan for the 2 new single-story office buildings. So those are single-story. The overlay district calls for a maximum of 10,000 square feet per building. The intent of the overlay district is to create kind of a village of buildings, not necessarily any single massive, large building. And the owner has gone in the direction of doing a single-story, 2 single-story buildings in lieu of potentially a 2 or 3-story building. So the intent is to do office use. It would probably have maybe 2 small businesses in each building. So you can see the division line through the middle of the building running north-south, and then extending the parking area as well to support the 2 new office buildings. And then, if I may point out, and I'll point it out from here, are we able to zoom in by chance?
And you have a clicker on there too. Oh, Yeah, you should be able to laser point to.
Actually, I got to remember which one was your
It's the
clicker, which
top
one was mine.
Yeah, and then where do you want?
Are you
me
able to zoom in?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and I want to point out too, because one thing that that came up in talking, and the owners engaged with some neighbors to try and interact and try and ease any concerns. The southern property has a full 25-foot landscape buffer. And one thing I would like to note, if we go to the existing conditions as something to bring in, there's currently a concrete area with a dumpster enclosure. And so if I can actually bring some attention into that, because the property does have some age to it and the requirements have changed over time, there will actually be what I would call a net benefit to especially the southern property. If we switch back to the site plan, we'll actually be moving the dumpster from that location up to where you see it across from the cell tower. So I just want to point that out just as a point in regards to the southern buffer, which is compliant with the zoning requirements. And I believe we have a landscape plan, which is on the presentation board. I think
one of the commissioners has a question for you.
Sure.
Sorry, I'm just hiding behind this
presentation board.
And these are usually informal, so that's
Can I
absolutely.
just ask why this building is being replaced from the existing building to this new one?
Your question is, why is this building being replacing the existing building? Yep, so the existing building is to remain and be preserved. There's no changes to the existing building.
Okay, so this is the one on the right is the new one behind it?
Right.
Yep, so
It's
to
two.
the right here, and we have architectural elevations to show, and that's part of why we want to come before you today for the appropriateness. We certainly use the existing building as sort of the baseline for architecture. This rendering of the proposed office building meets, my position would be it meets the zoning guidelines for architecture for this overlay, subject to any additional feedback from the commission. But to your question, the existing building will
It's
not be
staying.
impacted.
Got it. I thought that you were
Yeah.
replacing it.
So that's where the little mall is now, the left building.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's actually two buildings you're building, correct?
And so proposed will be two new small office buildings,
Right.
That are exactly the same.
symmetrical to the existing cell tower. So it'll actually be pretty far back. We've gone to some efforts to make the front facade with some elements and working with staff, including a porch, including some Bahama shutters, and including some hardy plank along the front.
And that would be facing the parking that's along the okay.
The front would be facing the parking.
And what did you say this building's purpose? What is this building here?
Office use.
Office use.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And parking currently ends at the back of the mall, correct? So you're extending it.
Correct.
You mean the existing mall? That mall?
Yeah. See.
Parking's in front of it.
Look at it here.
How many offices would be in these office buildings, these one-story twin towers, so to speak?
So each building
Right,
is
so
proposed
I
to be
would call
4,500
17
square
the
feet.
front.
So we envision there just being a demising wall essentially down the middle.
Right.
So each tenant would have
Going which
2,250 feet.
Is it spec office or is there a certain office?
I would describe it as spec.
So 2 tenants.
Right. Exactly. So it's on the side of the building.
Yes, it is.
Any other, you want to talk about the landscaping or see?
Yeah, just if there were any questions, this is a bit of a color rendition of the landscape plan to highlight especially the southern landscape buffer and the eastern landscape buffer, because those are adjacent to residential zone areas. And in working with staff as well, just as a point of things that get triggered in proposing these two new office buildings. There's not currently really a vegetated buffer to the rear, but the full landscape buffer gets looped into the requirements for the development. So you see a landscape buffer going all the way to Highway 70.
And refresh my memory here with the parking on the mall. Is that permeable? Is that, what type of parking do we have over there? Is it like gravel?
It's asphalt.
It's asphalt.
It's asphalt.
Get away from that.
I have a question. So the colors, is it all the same color? Is the front building the same color as the back? That's what it looks like right here from what I'm looking at.
Yeah, that's the plan right now. The zoning guidelines for this overlay district, the village commercial, Mount Pleasant overlay, IOP to Hamlin, suggest neutral tones, so that's the color.
Where's the
for
storm?
color code that's been proposed, but we're potentially open to feedback. But it does suggest sort of neutral.
Where's the stormwater being taken care? How's that being taken care of?
So there's actually a pond going in off-site,
Attention.
which is
Behind?
already designed for impervious surface.
Behind this?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Pervious.
Pond for what purpose?
For stormwater.
Stormwater
To
pond.
manage stormwater quality requirements.
Is there more to this?
He fell down from heaven.
So if there's no further questions to the layout or to the landscaping, again, maybe just run through the architectural images maybe one more time if there's any questions or any comments.
Okay. I'll figure that out.
It's hard to wrap your head around all the different types of structure.
Are you proposing this to be wood
Yeah, what's the materials of the two?
or metal? It looks like metal to me, that's why I'm asking.
So the front is intended to be the hardy plank, and then the sides, especially facing the cell tower, are intended to be metal with an appropriate finish that won't corrode, and intended to appear as standing seam, essentially standing seam metal.
What character are you attempting to attain here?
Character, architectural character.
Character.
Yeah.
I mean, it just looks really plain to me.
Well, we're open to any feedback. We've taken the existing building, so the gabled roof, I think, is one of the most core pieces to it. Windows above the front porch, having a front porch. We've taken sort of this base brick as well. I don't believe the existing building has a base brick, but some other buildings in the area do. Have some base bricks, so we took that inspiration as well, along with the Bahama shutters. So it's intended to be a low country, village commercial aesthetic. Is there anything you like most or don't?
It's not
don't?
grabbing me. That's just my opinion. No.
What is your recommendation? I mean, do you have?
I'm not an architect.
I know, but you also have, but the fact that it's not grabbing you, and we're trying to give him some ideas of what's appropriate for this particular
I wish I had a
Boone Hall area.
photograph of what the old store looked like. I can't remember.
Do you have a picture, a photograph of the existing structure on the site?
No, the old store.
So the existing structure,
That's
the
it.
shape looked exactly
This is-
as what
this
you're
is it. This
seeing
is-
here.
Okay.
The only difference is it used to be red,
Yeah.
and now it's been colored white to be more low country-ish. I wasn't the decision maker, but it's been repainted.
What is the material of the existing building?
I believe it's board and batten. wood.
Well, why
I
not go
believe
with
it's
board
wood.
and batten as opposed to hardy plank?
It's wood.
Because it's more durable? or what?
Hardy plank.
No, you say it's going
It's-
with board and batten.
It's almost purely a subjective decision. The sides appear more board and batten, and then the front is more horizontal, just to give it a little bit of a different, a little bit of a different look as opposed to being exactly homogeneous. But if that was a key point for you, then we can certainly look at that.
Trying to find the old building. Jason, you comment?
I would probably get rid of that brick knee wall. I don't know. It
This is how it looks now.
it doesn't.
That's in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever the latest Google.
That's exactly what he's got right there.
It is.
I think that the point I think most of us would make is that we would like to see it be, to be similar. I mean, I know you're trying to, but that, to the original building there, and the whole Boone Hall concept. And that is the same building, but it's just easier to see it a little bit closer. That's just my opinion there. It's just continuity of that.
I don't mind the porch across the front. I'd probably, again, do it all one material instead of the brick with it. The side windows with the whole Bermuda type shutter, I think it would be helpful when you ultimately bring it to show these renderings more accurately with the cell tower, to sort of showing in one
Proximity.
image the existing, the new, the cell tower, the new, to sort of understand, because the SketchUp rendering, I think, is what is throwing folks of just what we're looking at just right now. I think that is one of the challenges.
Anyone else have something they'd like to share or any input?
What are you doing to make it environmentally friendly?
To make the buildings environmentally friendly? What
Where
would
I'm
be
coming from,
examples?
I don't know why this popped in my head, but Urban Outfitters, Half Moon Outfitters, when they built their headquarters up in, I think it's in North Charleston. You ought to take a look at that building, that's all I can say. It was created to be as environmentally friendly as possible. And I'm thinking that they did something with their windows so that they didn't need as much air conditioning. It was so that ventilation was more natural.
Sure.
When I went to college, I wanted to be an architect, and I knew there was no way that was going to happen. So I don't have any training. I can just tell you what I like and don't like. But this is not grabbing me.
Sure. Well, that's why we're here, to get feedback. What I'm hearing, am I hearing that is a unanimous feeling of the brick, because the brick was in fact added to be a low country feature to the building? I think the owner would be open to removing it. I would just like to know if that feels like that's
I don't think it adds
a
that.
bit of a consensus.
It just looks flat. It doesn't have any personality. I'm sorry. Yeah, no,
Yeah, I think the brick, on the other hand, adds some personality to it. Frankly, I like the brick. So, no, it's not a unanimous feeling.
the current building has steps going up to it. Is there any reason you didn't want to do that here? Because I think the steps add some character.
So the steps being added, I can't speak to what decisions they made when they made this building many years ago. I can say this building is not in a flood zone, so that's usually a driver on whether you're going to add crawl space or not. Crawl space is usually something you want to avoid if you can. So that would be the only indication I can respond to, is that this is not in a flood zone, so we are proposing slab on grade with a porch. Anytime you elevate too, it adds challenges. For instance, you need an ADA ramp, which the existing building does, but one concession is the existing building doesn't have sidewalk along the entire frontage or a front porch as well, because they have features that they have to make room for, such as the ADA ramp. So there's a bit of trade-offs when you consider those features, but the primary response is it's not in a flood zone.
What's the next step here?
Well,
You're
we're
getting
working-
our feedback, so now what?
So as soon as staff indicates we're allowed to come for the formal presentation, we'd be interested in doing that. We're working through some final items for full site plan approval. So as soon as staff indicates we may return, I think they would be interested. This was actually proposed to be a full meeting. As a matter of fact, a full application was actually submitted. But in response to some other events, we requested that it would be a workshop to add an opportunity for engagement. So we would hope that when we come back, it's prepared for positive.
And do realize that as part of the site plan review process, there are what I would call basic architectural requirements, like breaking up walls that are certain lengths. But I know you've talked to staff about this, I'm sure. Adding the porches and the Bahamian windows, add relief to, those are all things that are addressed in our ordinance. I just wanted to let the commission know that. And lighting, we have a foot candle maximum requirement for lighting. We have requirements for connectivity, so I noticed that there's sidewalks that you have going to the buildings. So some of the things that are being shown are things that are required. The details of the architecture, though, are things that are not necessarily addressed in the ordinance.
There are brackets on the existing building on the side under the roof eaves that might be worth looking at and potentially incorporating here. Additionally, just looking at the existing building, the roof's pitch is a bit steeper, so thinking about this porch, maybe increasing the pitch of the roof to bring it up a bit closer to those windows might, on the upper floor, might be a bit more reflective of the pitch of the roof of the barn shaped roof here. If you see how that roof, goes up towards those windows a bit more steeply, that could be a way to have some conversation with the existing building without being a replica, because it's not the same shape of the structure, but sort of having some of those details reflected as you're carrying it through along the length of the property.
Right, and that's part of the intention as well, of the overall plan. Yeah.
How about, doesn't staff usually ask for the surface to be permeable and not so much cement, like to have more of a rock or a,
Well, there's a maximum impervious area that's required. I believe it's 70% of the site. Normally, by the time the landscape buffers are and the tree islands are put into place,
it meets that.
it usually meets it by default, right, as a minimum, right.
Yeah, just think that's important. The surface.
Maximum, no minimum?
I meant maximum, it meets the maximum
maximum.
70% impervious, right.
Oh, so it has to be 70% impervious?
Maximum, not a minimum. So,
Okay.
so
Max.
you can go below. So it's a maximum of 70%.
Well,
And the plan meets or exceeds that requirement. It's gone through, I believe, 3 staff reviews so far.
I'm all about the max, so that 70%.
Ask you a question. So the picture that we have of the building, is that one building, or because you said there were going to be 2 towers? So the pictures that we're looking at, is that just an example of one of the 2 towers that's going to be there, or is that the building? Because I'm looking at, like you said, this courtyard with that little area, and I'm like, where's the courtyard with the building? I'm looking for it, for that image in some of the photos, but I don't see that. So
to your question, there are 2 buildings proposed, and the building you see, essentially it'd be the same floor plan mirrored on both sides.
on both
of the
sides.
site.
Okay.
So that's why you see one building example, but there's 2 in the plan. So it would be replicated, likely with potentially some minor details, but that would be the intention.
Okay. And I guess, okay, so thank you so much for clarifying that. And then my other, just in terms of just the aesthetic of the building, you've got, it seems like there's a lot going on there with the brick, and then you've got the siding, and then you've got the pitch of the roof, and you've got sort of these, I guess the Bermuda windows on the side to sort of give it that sort of island look, but then the other 2 aren't. So I'm just looking for some balance there. I mean, if I were a business, I don't know if this would be the place that I would necessarily want to reside in for my business. I think I want a little bit something more to it. I don't know if there maybe just more color to the building itself, but I'm looking, and I like the brick actually, but I don't know if it should just be just a little bit of brick, either a little bit more, all brick, or something different. But I don't know. There's something a little bit more, because to me, it just looks like a big giant
Warehouse.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
When you design, don't you typically come up with 2 or 3 alternatives and talk about the pros and cons of them, and then end up with one? Or is this the only concept that y'all had?
No, ma'am, this is probably the 3rd iteration, because in the process, again, we've actually been working on this probably over a year, give or take. So through the process, it's primarily you work with staff. I don't know how many workshops this commission sees.
I don't know, but did all of the ones you came up with before look pretty much like that? It's very scary.
This is a much more matured version of what's been considered from the team.
I mean,
so
whittled
far.
down. That's what you've whittled down.
The Bahama shutters, the porch, and some additional features were added in direct response from the comments we received from staff review to comply with the zoning code.
I think they wanted this one too, so you can require that they do all.
Okay, I'm gonna make another comment, and probably y'all might freak out at what I say, but I think architecture in Mount Pleasant is pretty dull. And I think Mount Pleasant has a long way to go to get something that looks interesting and just fun, interesting, unique. Hey, that's a really cool building. You ought to see this new building over here. This is not just, that's me. That's my reaction.
Yeah, understood. The 2 buildings, and with this project, these 2 buildings will actually be at the rear. And if I'm being honest, they'll probably be not so visible from folks driving by. So it's finding that balance on, is this going to be the building everyone sees, or is this what's going to work for the use and the office use and the location on where it is? But we'll certainly take all of these comments into consideration. I think the brick we'll have to think about if there's some clear direction on if the brick wants to stay or go. So we'll consider that. And I think some comments over in this direction were duly noted on some pitches, feature So we'll take all that in consideration, and hopefully that this has been helpful to get some feedback so that when you see it again, it's ready to go.
Like the idea of the courtyard. I think when you do have a business and you have that sort of courtyard area to sort of come out and sort of take a break from the routine, I think that idea is kind of nice. I just think the aesthetic needs to have more of a, even if it's not going to be like a formal, sort of building structure. I think if you're sort of in like on a low country area, I just think a little bit more than the warehouse look would be a little bit more appealing, I think, aesthetically, as well as to, I think, people who would want to, provide their businesses there. I definitely like the courtyard idea. And I think even having those Bermuda, or what do you call them, the Palma windows there, could sort of be incorporated into it. But I just, that paneling, I don't, that's not terribly appealing to me. But somehow, with all of your expertise, I think something else could be improved. I've seen, I'm from, the Northern Virginia area, and I've seen a lot of, sort of mall settings with that courtyard, and I actually find those a lot more interesting, and I think it draws more people there to sort of be a part of that setting, but they don't look like that. Some of them are actually all brick, to be honest with you, with that courtyard setting and all of the greenery and the shrubberies and the trees and all, but it doesn't have that warehouse feeling where something's being stored.
Yeah, to tie in with what you're saying, you want a building that people want to work in.
Yeah.
They want to come to,
Mm-hmm.
enjoy walking up to.
But do you also want it to have a history that the older building would have? Do you always want that connection?
Complement.
That connection?
There needs to be a connection.
Does it complement? How about, no?
I think it almost clashes.
Is that what we would want, to complement that other building?
I think, yeah.
We're saying it
That's
should.
right, that's
That's the Secretary of Interior standard,
Yeah,
that it should complement.
And Commission members, I'd like you guys to be aware that the Secretary of Interior standards under the new ordinance are really for properties that are being restored, not necessarily new construction.
I understand.
So as a new application, you will be looking at, is this new building compatible with the other building? And does it decrease the integrity, and have they mitigated any potential harms?
So with that, I was asked to read the letter from the seller, so if I may, unless there's any further comments to consider.
The land seller?
Yes, ma'am. The prior
person you're
family
buying the
property
land.
owner. I was asked to read the letter, so if you don't mind.
Sure.
So this letter is in an email, and I can provide this to staff for the record, but it does say, "Dear James, you have our permission to give this email to the Historic Preservation Commission. Dear Historic Preservation Commission, we are the members of the Hamlin family that have lived in this area since the 1600s. We sold the 5 acres at 2521 Highway 17 North, Mount Pleasant, to James Duggan's company. We inherited this property from our grandmother, who purchased it in 1935. At that time, the property did not even have a single tree on it. Mr. Duggan has been keeping us informed every step of the way. We approved of him making the 4 home lots at the far back of the property, and so that's off-site from this commercial property. We have looked at them, and we think they are large and beautiful. We understand he is planning to put 2 office buildings on the front acres behind the old packing shed building, which have been rebuilt and now rented to modern manor house. He has talked to us about the plan, and we are in favor of it. The front acres of this property have been used commercially for many years. We understand the office buildings can hardly be seen from Highway 17 since they are so far back. They also made them look similar to the packing shed building's shape. We just wanted you to know that we are in favor of it. We have known Mr. Duggan for many years. He is a friend of our community and our traditional South Carolina way of life, as he and his family have lived here for over 100 years. Sincerely, Harriet Hamlin and Elizabeth Hamlin McConnell. So just wanted to read that into the record. And I understand tonight is not a vote, but wanted to try and have some dialogue in advance of our application to be coming before you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did anyone sign up to speak from the public?
No.
No. All right. Any further discussion or question for the applicant? Thank you.
Thank you.
If there's no further discussion from commission members, the Historic Preservation Commission workshop stands adjourned. The Historic Preservation Commission will hold a meeting on Wednesday, July 17th, 2024 at 2 p.m. in council chambers. Meeting is adjourned.